Is it the wealthy or the worker who win with this Republican tax reform plan? Let's talk about it from both sides. Jimmy Pethokoukis, CNBC contributor from the American Enterprise Institute, is with us, and Mattie Duppler from the National Tax Union. Now, Jimmy, you're not convinced that this helps the middle class as much as Gary Cohn is saying here. Why?
Listen, I think this plan, and I think it's almost charitable to call it a plan. It's not. It's more than talking points. It's more than just some guidelines. It's an advancement. But there's still so much we absolutely don't know. Listen, it would have been very easy to create a plan which sort of unambiguously and clearly helped middle class, particularly lower middle class, working class voters. They could have done a sort of a means-tested payroll tax cut. But right now, it is not clear how much, on a static basis, that this helps. One, we have to know what's going on with what the final parameters of the child tax credit are. They tried pressing Gary Cohn on that. We still don't know what that is. That's going to be key. Now, you could argue that on a dynamic basis with all the growth, it will help the middle class that way. But it could be very clear, even on this basis, that it would, and it isn't.
Well, Mattie, you guys are saying that the core tax reform principles outlined can deliver relief for middle-class families, highlighting the simpler filing process there. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't share Jimmy P's pessimism. I'm actually heartened by the fact that we saw a framework released yesterday, because now this work goes to the committees. This goes to the experts in Congress who will negotiate these details out. But we do see a framework that I think it's hard to argue it doesn't benefit middle-income earners and earners down the income scale. You're collapsing tax brackets, so much so that you're expanding to people who have a 0% tax liability. That's pretty significant, not to mention the expansion of the standard deduction, expansion of the child tax credit. These are all efforts that are obviously aimed at people who have a tax liability that they can't afford. You heard Gary Cohn mention the fact that getting rid of some of the other deductions and junk in the tax code is what's going to help make that math work. But, the deductions that are taken with these state and local, for instance, these are all deductions that are taken by high-income earners. So without them, it's obvious that the impact is going to go straight to middle-income earners.
Look, listen, this whole plan is very similar to the House Better Way plan. And if you look at the distributional tables on that plan, this does not look like a windfall on a static basis for middle-class workers. Listen, they better hope that they keep that corporate tax rate at 20%, and they better be able to pay for it, because that will negate some of the growth impact. The way this is going to help middle-class workers ultimately is by the growth. So they got to make sure this thing is structured so they get the growth. If they don't get that, it's not going to help them very much at all.
But Jimmy, you almost make it sound like that's a minor thing. Oh, if they get some growth, it'll help. Well, that's the whole point, right? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's not minor.
If this moves in the right direction to both, on day one, but also in terms of down the road, isn't that the whole point?
Right. It's the whole point as long as this thing ends up not losing $2 or $3 trillion. I would be far less optimistic about the growth. It loses to it. All right. So that means so far what we know is it's a money loser.
I'm getting a wrap here, but Mattie, what's your final word there? What were you going to say?
I would say we have an exercise in this before, 2001, 2003. 2003 paid for itself and then some. We'll see explosive growth on the top end of this tax reform plan. And not only are we going to see growth for income earners, we're going to see...
Where was the explosive growth in the 2000s? There was no explosive growth in the 2000s.
Well, when everything was fully phased in 2003, we saw almost $100 billion more.
The economy exploded. The economy exploded. I remember that.
Right, when everything was phased in after 2003.
It's hard to talk about the 2000s without the aftertaste that comes with it.
There's something in there, yeah.
Well, let's hope that our economy recovers that way, too.
Thank you both for joining us. It's only beginning. Everybody's got their calculators out trying to work the magic right now. By the way, welcome to Closing Bell.
And welcome back, by the way.
Thank you. That is Kelly Evans sitting next to me there.
Poor eyes.
It's nice to, that's pretty cool to see that. Let's